This week, we have the honor and the privilege to have as a guest a brother, a friend, a man of faith, of integrity, of principle, none other than Mr. Kenold Knight. This week is loaded with wisdom, with knowledge, with information that is sure to empower you, that is sure to equip you, and to propel you into new heights, whether it be in your family, whether it be in your business, or in your project. So stay tuned and pay attention, as I believe after this episode, things will never be the same. The process. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you will be following us. It is your host, Treasure Kalambe. Welcome to the process once again. I hope you're enjoying our second season, and here we are again bringing a great conversation for you. So sit down, share the video, because this one is really truly special. I have an amazing guest here today to talk about leadership, the importance of leadership, and we're going to discuss the process of leadership. And I really think that it will be not only a blessing, but I think that there's going to be some information that will make a difference in your life. Someone that I've known for a very long time, a very long time. We used to battle it out when we were youngins on the basketball court, and now we're all grown and married and kids and all that stuff, with a wealth of knowledge to provide. It is my brother and friend, Kenold Knight. Kenold, good afternoon. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Man, I'm so happy to have you today. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy. You got so much things going on. So we're really grateful that you gave us a chance to sit down and talk.
And thanks for having me. Just for the record, it's clear I wasn't really that good when we were battling. I mean, you had I think I had the guard Hopkins when I was younger, and that was not great for me. So yeah.
But y'all had the better team. That was the thing.
We did. We usually had the better team, but you would drop 50 on us, and that would just break our hearts. So yeah.
It was some fun times. I'm really glad we had those battles. And really, that's why I wanted to sit and talk, because we have this long history of so much. And I think, now that we're in ministry, in business, and all of these different things, leadership is something we've had to watch, learn, and obviously now be able to apply. So when you hear the word leadership itself, what does that say? What does that sound like? What is leadership for you when you hear that word?
It's a responsibility. It's a responsibility that's important for you to grasp, and grasp early, because the reality is that the sooner that you can recognize your capability as a leader is the more effective that you will be. So for me, leadership means a lot, because it's not something that you can just kind of go into, right? They talk a lot about, leadership classes and leadership development and all these different things. But to be real with you, for someone like me who's coached, that's pastored, that's been in youth leadership positions, one thing that I've recognized is that it's either you are or you're not. That's it. You're either a leader or you're not a leader. It's important, to do classes and to empower yourself, but from what I've come to experience, you have this or you don't have this. And if you don't have it, it's going to be very difficult for you to really thrive and do well in leadership. So yeah, that's key. I never used to always think like that. I remember when our pastors in the church that I was growing up in used to tell us that we should be taking these classes and doing all these different things. And as I was in the position, though, I would recognize that, listen, man, I didn't need the classes to know how to deal with this. The experience showed me, but I kind of had something about me that allowed me to thrive in it. And that's what it comes down to. Yeah, it's in you or it's not.
It's in there, and that's so key. Either you have it or you don't. And I think a lot of people will struggle depending on the area they're in. Like if it's business,
Yeah.
if it's, ministry
Yeah.
or sports or whatever, they might struggle because they don't know whether or not they possess some of those qualities. So how does somebody identify that? Like how do you pick that up to know that, okay, I have it or I don't have it and I need to work towards some of the stuff? Like how do we identify some of those key pointers that help us, to get it or build it and all that?
This is how I've been thrown into leadership positions. I've been literally thrown into them. So I've been, I've been in the church, and I've grown up in church. My father is a minister, and he would literally say, you know what, you're going to be doing this, and that's it. There was no cue. There was no, just threw me into it, and then I had to figure it out, right? In coaching, the exact same thing in basketball. I got thrown into coaching. Like I was helping out a friend, and I was able to start coaching the team, and I just did it. So for me, how you recognize that you're a leader is the things that you do. When you start doing, you figure out whether or not you're capable of getting it done or not. So if you, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. If you think that you can, run a business, start doing things that would relate to that and see if you're successful in it. Because I'm telling you, if you are a leader, those things will just come. It'll just resonate. It'll just work out. And then you'll see that, hey, you know what? You realize that you are made or born to be a leader.
To be able to be a leader. And, it's so true, because I think when we're talking about that, folks will confuse or combine being a leader of self versus being a leader of people.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like you said, being a leader of self, I think that's the thing you're always going to work on and discover those things. But being a leader of people, it has to be something that's innate, that really God has given you and that's there for you. Like it's a position in which you have been put in, like you said, to be able to do it. Let's talk a bit about leading of self and kind of, being that leader for yourself and getting the best out of yourself. We're living in a time and age of social media. We're living with all of this information and all of these things are coming in, confusing folks, especially the younger generation, the identity crisis and all of those kind of stuff. How do some of our young people, or how are people who are struggling with kind of figuring who they are as an individual, how can they lead themselves in a good and a productive way,
The key to that, if I can touch on that, is just not comparing yourselves, right? I think, especially in this social media age and the world that we're living in right now, there's too much comparison. You think because this person is a certain way that you should be this certain way, or this trend is happening that you've got to attach yourself to it, or this person's speaking up on this topic, so you've got to speak up on it too, and then that makes you think that you're a leader. Because the reality is that you've got to be able to know yourself. When you know yourself, you understand what makes you go. You understand your why. You understand your reasoning. You understand your purpose. You understand your identity. You understand all that you are about, what you've grown to be, what shaped you. If you understand all of that, that's how you lead yourself, right? Not worrying about what others think of you, or comparing yourselves to others because they look a certain way, or they act this, or they say certain things. You've got to recognize who you are for yourself, and that's how you lead yourself.
And I think that's so important, like that notion of self. I remember even saying in a message once in a preaching, like, that's the beginning of everything, right? To get yourself to a place of destination, you have to know exactly what am I starting with, right? So that notion of self, it's so important. And if I personalize it a bit, once you know yourself and you start that journey, then you need some support, right? And you need some guidance, you need some assistance. Can you talk a bit about the importance of mentors, of leaders that have already, walked that path of connecting yourself with people who've done it as you start leading, whether it's yourself or it's a business or whatever it is? Why is that such an important tool?
It's so important. It's so important because the reality is that when other people have accomplished things, so say somebody has figured out who they are and they've led themselves and then they've led other people, you can take things from that, from their example, because you don't always have to reinvent the wheel.
Right,
There are
right.
some things that are already laid out for you that you
Yeah.
just got to draw from and build on your own. And sometimes we get so possessive and think that we have to do things on our own. The reality is there's people there to help us. There's examples that we can draw from. We just got to be able to tap into it. We just got to be able to tap into it and draw from it. Yeah.
And draw from it. Because if we don't do it, right, and I think about this, especially when I was an athlete, when you talk about the earlier years, I was great at getting all of these buckets, but I never knew how to get the best
out of your teammates.
my teammates, So I'm out here, you get the stats, and you really don't know how to inspire others.
Yeah.
And I believe leadership, or a big part of leadership, is inspiring others.
Yeah.
Someone who's a business person, as yourself, who's an entrepreneur and who does all of these things, how do we inspire people as a leader? How does a leader inspire others to pick up the baton and to follow along or to give their best? How do we do that? How do we inspire folks into following us, into standing with us? Like, what would you say to a leader who struggles in that area? How would they do it?
One word: passion. Passion. If you have passion, if you display passion, it doesn't matter what it is that you're into. It really doesn't matter. But if you're passionate about it, you can inspire people. You just have to, showcase that. You just got to be willing to, say, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about that. You've got to show that you're working and you're getting to it. If you have the passion, then you can instill inspiration into others. That's what it starts with. And for you to keep on going with yourself, because it's so easy to start things, much more difficult to finish.
Come on. Right,
much more difficult to keep on going.
Yeah.
But what the fuel would be when you start something is the passion that you have. Right? Because I can instill something into you, or you can instill something into me, where I can take up and start going with it. But I need that passion to sustain it. I need that passion to finish it. And if it's a business, right? If it's, you coaching, or you even playing a sport, or whatever it is that you want to get a music career of, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have the passion, you'll be able to continue through with it.
So would you say leadership is connected to success?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because of yourself, and if you're branching out with others, it is totally connected, because you can't just do whatever. You have to have a plan. You have to have a direction, right? And usually when you have a direction, it's because you understand that there's leadership that has to take you to where it is that you need to go. If I want to get to point B, I've got to start at point A, right? But I've got to start there to get there,
And I think that's so important. The Bible says, lay the vision down, right?
Yeah.
And make it plain.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of leaders sometimes don't understand the importance of vision.
Yes.
Of being able to provide a vision, whether it's for yourself, for people, but giving a clear vision of what it is that we're trying to do, and making it clear and detailed. And again, talking about somebody, whether it's sports, whether it's business, or any kind of area that they might be in, how would they put that vision down? Because, like you said, there's all of these information out there, but you might have somebody who knows they're called to be a leader, and they know that God has put something on the inside of them, and they're trying to work towards it. How would they make that vision clear so that those who come along know exactly what it is and can follow their passion and follow their guidance?
You've got to put pen to paper, right? You've got to write things down, right? You've got to make it interesting for yourself, right? You've got to maybe put a vision board up where you're going through things, and you're making a checklist, and you're going off of things. Like there has to be tangible things to show you that you're actually moving, that you're actually working, and you're actually getting done what it is that you're looking at, right? It's not just doing it. You've got to put it down and see it and get it. That's important. That's it. And this is, be careful with this part, and you've got to have some people hold you accountable. So there's some things that you can share with others so that they can help you through what it is that you're trying to do, right? And reaching out and finding, like I said before, you don't have to reinvent the wheel with everything. You can go and find somebody that's probably done what it is. I remember listening to a story with Kobe Bryant, actually, before he passed away, and he had mentioned that he would go and sit with the directors of these big production films and all these things,
yeah,
and
that's
he would
true.
just draw from them. One time he said that he picked up the phone with the Huffington Post lady, or the director of that, and drew from her a bunch of different things. I think that's important for you to get to where it is that you're going to. You know, go to other people and get things from them, draw things from them, and put it towards what it is that you're trying to do.
Exactly, because like you're saying, you can't reinvent that wheel. People have done it,
Yeah.
and sometimes people have laid a guideline of how, you know, you can get to that same place. So who are some leaders for you that have inspired you, you know, in this journey so far? Who are some of those people that stand out for you?
I have a few. I mean, I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan. I've read his books. I've seen I've read a bunch about him. Phil Jackson with the Chicago Bulls. So this is from the basketball side of things. And then in the faith, I've looked at like Bishop T.D. Jakes and what he's done kind of with his ministry. I've paid attention to some younger ones like Darius Daniels. He has some ministries and some good leadership qualities. I've also looked at some ancient leaders. So you look at Alexander the Great, and you look at Julius Caesar, and I went through a lot of those historical books, and Cleopatra. You look at some of those leaders, you can draw some things from them, and I've drawn a lot from those people as well. Yeah.
And I loved how you mentioned not only Christian names, but even others, because, you know, the qualities that are found in leadership are universal.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes where people will limit themselves is because they only look at, you know, one area. So I really hope people get that part, and that they, you know, they look into different things and they kind of chime into that. And going back into basketball a bit, there's a lot of leaders that exist in the game. And I've been asking everybody to, I'm going to throw this out at you too as we're getting close to the end. LeBron or Michael? Who would you pick?
I mean, I have this argument all the time with so many different people. And, you know, first of all, for somebody to be the greatest of all time, it's a difficult thing to label. I think it's Magic Johnson or one of these greats who have mentioned that, where it's hard for you to compare eras because the style of play is so different, the physicality is different. There's just so many different factors that can impact it. But the one thing that I think trumps everything else, and the pushback that I usually get is that it's a team sport. It's a team sport. So, you know, you can't really say this, but I'm going to say it because I feel strongly about it, is that winning needs to have some strong value when it comes to something like the greatest player of all time. I think winning has to have weight. Everybody, you know, you can look at stats and you can look at accolades and all that, which is all important stuff, and I'm not taking away from anything, but winning needs to mean something. And somebody like Michael Jordan, who went to 6 championships and won 6 championships, to me is unheard of. You know, that's you know. So for me, he's the greatest of all time, and I think his competitiveness, his skill, all that is up there with any of the other greats that are in that conversation. But for me personally, it would be Michael Jordan.
Yeah. That's a good answer, at least. That's a good one. Because I know everybody, you know, has their own side, but I think that's a good answer because I believe winning is also important. And I think even with leadership, you know, I think being successful at the task that's been put in front of you, right? Yeah. Whether it's a role or whatever it is, like winning in that area, I think it's important and it's part of it if we're going to be effective.
Because if you're a leader and you don't have a winning mentality, you're not going to accomplish what it is that you set out to do. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how big it is, how small it is. If you don't have a mentality that you can do what it is that you set out to do, or you can win where it is that you're thinking of going, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So the best leaders, they have a mentality about them. This you know, bold and courageous mentality that don't look at things from a perspective of, well, I'm just going to do this to do it. They look at things with the perspective to win, to get over, to conquer, to annihilate, however you want to look at it. If you're looking at some of the wartime people in ancient history
Yeah.
or whatever it is, Alexander the Great, how he thought of all these different tactics to win because he had a winning mentality. Great leaders all have that kind of mentality. The leaders that don't have that mentality, they're not going to be that successful. They're just not.
That is so important. A winning mentality.
Winning mentality.
Man, I hope you guys got that. A winning mentality. Yeah. And listen, Kenold, we're getting close to the end. I like doing this at the end and kind of, turning it all on you and asking that. What is, if we say a last word or a piece of encouragement or, a word of wisdom that can sort of be given to our leaders of today, to our leaders of tomorrow? What is something that it's important for them to know, to keep, that you would want to share with them? And I hope you can do that, looking right into the camera and tell them, those little nugget. that will help them in this season. Because I think it's so important that our leaders stand up, but not only stand up, but really, launch out to do the things that they've been destined to do. So take a moment, if you mind, and just kind of speak to them.
See, the most important thing about leadership is, as I mentioned earlier, is that you have to know yourself. You've got to know what you're good at. You've got to know what you're capable of doing. You've got to know where it is that you need to tap into to be able to get to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. The other thing about leadership is that you've got to know your weaknesses. You've got to know what you can't do so you don't overwhelm yourself. So you don't run out of passion because you're so caught up with doing all these little tasks. Leadership requires you to know your entire self, your whole being, which means that you know what you're not good at. And when you know what you're not good at, you allow others to help you out, because this is so important. All leaders, everybody needs help in some area. We are not super beings that can do absolutely everything on our own. There's a reason why there is a community of people around us. Know your circle, know who can pour into you, know who your mentors are, know who it is that you can draw from when you need advice, when you need help. If you don't have somebody to lean on, find somebody to lean on. Because I'm telling you, that would be the best thing that you will ever do to be able to accomplish anything that you want to do as a leader. You've got to find somebody that can, somebody or somebodies that can help you to do what it is that you're trying to do. You are never on your own. There's always help for you. And understand this, finally, understand this, is that sometimes it's okay, leaders, it's okay to take a step back. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to just relax and take your time if you need it. It's okay to refuel. It's okay to renew. It's okay to refresh and to get yourself ready and to renew, rekindle the fire that you need and the passion that you need to do what it is that you set out to do. It's important for us to do that, and for every leader that's out there, you're more than enough. You have what it takes. You've got to put it all together, and that takes people around you to do it as well. So that would be my encouragement to those. Yeah.
Nothing to add. There is completely nothing for me to add. I think that was more than enough. Kenold, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. I think this is great what you're doing, and hopefully people continue to be blessed by it.
And I think this one they'll be blessed by it. Listen, if y'all weren't, I was blessed. I felt motivated. I felt encouraged. I felt inspired by that. And listen, you want to be able to tune into some of these things. And if you want to rewind the video, rewind it and watch it again and share it with somebody, subscribe, tell folks to subscribe. We're creating this platform in order to impart in you what you will need for your process. Remember, we're all in a journey. We're all trying to gain that destination. We're all trying to fulfill all of those purposes. So this is for you. And I hope this conversation, one more time, has been inspirational, educational, and impactful. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for next week's episode. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed. It was your host, Treasure Kalambe. Take care. Man, wow. Wasn't that good? Another amazing conversation talking about leadership. Kenold gave us so many amazing nuggets. I'm telling you, I was sitting on the other side and I had goosebumps, and I'm feeling motivated and I'm feeling inspired. So I know that you tuning in felt inspired as well. Like he said, leadership is about being whole, knowing who you are, knowing what you can do, but also knowing your limitation and knowing how to go seek out help and support when needed. Such an amazing conversation. We're continuing the journey. We're not done yet. We have much more guests, so make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're sharing the videos, and that you're coming back next week for our next show. Till then, like we say, stay safe and stay blessed.